We interrupt our program to bring you this important message.
I'm back. That still has a nice beat to it. Still seated twerking to bounce. New year, and that song still has a vibe in 2025. Also, it's time for a new intro. I am in with a podcast change. I added the F.A.A.F.O to it, but I'm back with the same formula that has allowed me to be successful in the past. I've set realistic intention. I plan on being present and following through, but I still intend to remain petty and hold grudges. Not all intentions need to be positive. Also, I will be unengaged and unbothered by people and things in my life that do not serve me. That means parasitic people, unsolicited judgments, biased newspapers, and mainstream banks. I will not apologize for maintaining my mental peace. Happy and unbothered and at peace because I'm at unbothered. All day, every day, being unbothered is my way. Join me. I love my life, even as the world seems to delve or dive into a collective sense of obtuseness and a willful ignorance of facts. I don't know who needs to hear this, but I think everyone, if you have access to some type of warm water, a tub, a pool, can't say I would want to go to a public pool because people are disgusting. And there's been too many outbreaks of other preventable illnesses. But I think people just need to float and to clear their head and to make sense of what it is. I think everyone should just, even a sound bath or something that just allows you to balance. That's what it is. What is going to allow you to reset so you can actually think clearly and look at every single task or possible task that you may, or decision, and prep you for the unexpected, because you would be a mind of evenness and allow you to make well thought out decisions. I've been reading as of late The Art of War being able to plan, knowing who your enemy is, being where they are not, but really being able to plan multiple steps ahead will require you to have some semblance of a mental evenness about it and a clear mind. Being able to walk upright and to walk in rightness and newness in this world is going to require peace of mind and clarity. And if we are clear, even when we walk into the unknown, we can actually operate with integrity and with safety. And I think a lot of our public leaders, if they would just take the time to clear their mind, get some clarity back, to be able to process old and new information, I really think a lot of them would, instead of going for viral moments, they would just want to go for moments of truth, and that would bring calm and with peace. Because we got a whole bunch of people out here willing to do everything for clout and for fame and for viral moments. They may not mean it, but they're just doing it because they're like, I'm in this position of power and I can basically say a whole bunch of things that I would not normally say, and that goes against every bit of reason. We're basically going into a period where people are willing to do or say anything to keep the chaos coming and the chaos going, just so they can be absolved from what their purpose is and what the purpose of life is and what you being a public servant is. You're supposed to be a public safety officer. You're supposed to uphold the public welfare, but you're doing, saying, and moving in a way that subverts all of that. It just seems like we have a whole bunch of sovereign citizens that have taken over. They're not claiming it, but they're basically making a mockery of the rules just for chaos sake. But the opposite and the medicine, the treatment for chaos is calmness and clarity, because that is the only way that you can make meaning and bring the chaos to rest. Think about that. Take a beat, take a moment, get clear, look at the chaos, and figure out the number of steps to decrease the chaos. And that's the word for it today. Is in alignment with a podcast segment dedicated to a fictional PI and all about true crime, or fictional crime in this case. Don't you think? Scams and such. So one of the things that I actually get a kick out of watching, besides my crime shows, I'm going to move away from this. But Stephen McBee is the patriarch of a family in Middle America. They all look like each other. They all look like him. Even the blonde one. I was looking at their last episode, season finale, this past week, and even he has that pie face. And I want to say they First Nation, but I'm not sure. I suspect it, but I don't know if it's out there like that. But anyways, recently it has been, I've been following it because last year he was convicted of federal charges by taking illegal crop insurance benefits. I think they were doing a whole bunch of stuff. They were staging equipment, multi-million dollar equipment being stolen, even though it's a small town. Somebody know where that stuff is. Millions of dollars worth of equipment being stolen, and then crops being damaged or they're losing crops, but that all phantom fraud. He was convicted. But his sentencing has been pushed back a few times. Actually, for the fourth time now, it's been pushed back all the way to October of this year. He was actually supposed to have been sentenced as early as March, but then it got delayed and delayed and delayed. And the reason why I only bring it up in this portion of what did you think was going to happen is because they pushed it back, but he's been ordered to turn over three expensive watches, two Tag Heuers and a Rolex Daytona. You know, most people know about the Rolex Daytona because I think Paul Newman wore one. Or was it Steve McQueen? I don't know. Somebody that liked to race cars. But I digress. And I think it's just rich, or as such, that you can be a farmer, have a multi-million dollar, it sounded fishy and scammy, multi-million dollar investment that falls through, and you basically cheat on your wife, who you eventually divorce with the CFO of the company, and then you cheat on her with her girlfriend, her best friend. Yeah, and you do all of this, and you still out looking at 30 years, but only thing you have to give up so far is three watches. And what farmer has three expensive designer watches? I don't know. Not in my world. But there's another one, and this comes out of the great state of North Kakalaki. 4 men indicted in Raleigh for a scheme that exploited security weakness and took $500,000 from the state employees credit union. How is that possible? Let's see, between April and September of 2022, the four recruited friends, family, and acquaintances who gave them access to their cards and PIN numbers. Then the men made numerous deposits and withdrawals in the account, knowing that the SCCU had an overnight reconciliation period during which all day's transactions were tallied. During this downtime, the SCC's computer systems would not know the true value in the accounts, letting the defendants make sham transactions and inflate the amount of money available for withdrawal. In return, the defendants promised the members a share of the large withdrawals they made. So it's basically like a new age check kiting scheme where you go to the bank, cash a check, you open up a checking account, or you basically steal somebody's checks, go in the bank, and basically withdraw a large amount. This is before the days before they could actually get almost instant confirmation of the amount in the account. Basically, this is what they're actually doing. And they did it for a while because it took them, what is this, 2025? They did it for the better part of 2022, and now just 3 years later, they're finding out that they gamed the system for 500 grand, and they finally shut them down. And now, how widespread it is, and the ringleaders are being charged. But I've always said this: the government, all the boys, the FBI, they have a 96% conviction rate. They get their man, they want their coins, or you're going to do some time, nonviolent or not. But what did you think was going to happen? That y'all were going to get away scot-free? We're talking about 500 large y'all tried to game the system for. Lord Jesus, y'all stupid. I just basically basically had a just coming off a great PTO. And even though I did not leave the country, like visit Canada like I wanted to, I did have the best staycation I could have ever had. And I think I needed just a time to unwind, float in my pool, get ideas, or just write them down. It was probably the best of all things. And even though this is Sunday and I usually don't like to podcast or tape on Sundays anymore, this was necessary. I think I needed that extra time to get my thoughts in order and just relax and just let the encouragement and the what is that word? What is the word where you start to create? When I actually got the urge to create, it wasn't really until today. It took several more days of floating in my pool, getting my mind right, and also being resolved that I wasn't going to win 1 point some $billion, but I could actually create my own billionaire status, not by winning the lottery, but actually by winning just at life and by my token. Back in July, I thought that if Chump can create their tokens, I can create my token. Sorry for that background noise. But I'm still very much interested in scams and figuring out scams and just basically creating my own separate stream of income without having to work myself to death. But so I have educated myself as far as what does it mean as far as cryptocurrency, different networks, how to create your own token using Bitbon, which is I think is reputable and it's also secure and safe, and linking the correct chain up to the correct wallet so you can actually manage your whatever token. Also, after this token sale ends, which I may actually end it tomorrow, I'm not sure. Now I know what I should have done. I should have actually become more creative as far as creating a coin, becoming familiar with the technology, knowing that one of the biggest, and I'll probably talk about that next week. The newest scam is the scammers have tried to figure out vulnerabilities in smart contracts, and they're basically stealing billions from people with that whatever vulnerability that is. But also, if I'm going to be successful in creating my own cryptocurrency, I'm going to need to be able to figure out um, a network like XRP has, how I'm going to use all of those things to support what the good things that I want my Afro Druids coin, meme coin to do. So, but most of what my scams that I've actually been reading about as of late have been about along the lines of Ponzi schemes and crypto. They've gotten even more savvy than what Bernie Madoff put the world through. And it will make them blush because these also what they're called rug pools have built billions from investors. And it's again, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is a scam. And if somebody basically tells you who they are, for example, if my coin was named Scam Coin, which I saw that coin just launched not too long ago, they're telling you that this is a scam. And if you invest, they're not being ironic. They are telling you that this is a scam. Going to get to a certain point, then they're going to pull the rug. So don't invest in any coin that have either a whole bunch of promises or that the value, the hype around the coin is more than what the value truly could be of the coin. If they're not based on anything, if they're not trying to do anything like the Trump coin, actually the Trump coin, it's probably a scam, and they're setting you up for a multi-billion-dollar rug pull on the level of Bernie Madoff. Even though reports of rug pulls is decreasing, the value lost with these scams has increased significantly. For example, I'm actually creating a detailing a the details of the Wolf of Wall Street token rug pull that happened back in March in 2025. This was tied to Hayden Davis, who was also involved in another rug pull called the Libra scam. After rumors of a celebrity endorsement, because that's how a lot of these, for example, I think, what's her name? Haley Bailey, Justin Bieber's wife. She's now, she's merged her makeup with Sephora, and they were celebrating it on CNBC Friday. But I wonder if we're going to find out that is breaking people's skin out, and the quality of it is not on the level of Sacred or Fenty, Beyonce and Rihanna's. And why can't they have prompted their launches, haven't prompted so much fanfare as the white girl? But I digress. And why did it take between February and March of this year, this same uh, person has been tied to two multi-billion-dollar rug pulls? Why is he allowed to operate like this? Let's see, images of Hayden. Good old, wait a minute. What's the name? Hayden. Hayden Davis. Hayden Davis. Scammer. Crypto scammer. And why are they allowed to operate? Yeah, he's a dorky, red-headed white boy. Grifts and hacks. He chopping it up. Offshore alert. Holy crap-a-moly. And y'all, and it's just basically counterfeiting and cult murder. I don't know. I just think that people, again, they get this like fresh face scammer who looked like he was generated by AI. Looks innocuous, but these are the biggest of the scammers. They basically, how they operate is they create such a big hype around a certain token, and you can basically say uh they actually hype. There's this massive price spike uh that's funneled into the coin, and then the developer, in this case Hayden, goes out, snipes, takes all the basically coins, and then disappears. uh they basically operate, and the more anonymous it is, they promise you, oh, you're going to get into this big deal before everybody else is. You know, the usual scam logic they try to pull on you. And then they just disappear with not only your bank, and a lot of people, like I talked about an $800,000 scam um um week before last, how this other scam involving a church, millions and millions of dollars, where the biggest baller in the neighborhood but the $50,000 square foot house is owned by a preacher. And how is that possible? The losses, even though nobody's reporting this because there's no transparency and you don't really know, the rug pull losses soared to 6,500%. And just in 2025, this was just, they reported this back in April. So 4 months into the new year, we get a felon for president and we get a 6,500% increase in crypto scams. It's crazy. What other statistics are associated with this? As reported by DAP Radar back in April, even though the rug pulls dropped by 66%, that value of the losses has increased by 6,500%. They're usually associated with meme coins as primary culprits. All the developers are anonymous, and they also have evolving tactics, including flash loan attacks, fake audits, AI generated white papers, and then leveraging social media hype to appear legitimate. That's why, to protect yourself from these schemes, you should research the project and the team, check liquidity and lockup, verify that the project's liquidity is locked for a significant period, and legitimate projects use time locked smart contract to prevent developers from draining the liquidity pool. Audit the smart contract, use caution with new projects, and diversify your investments, avoiding putting all your funds into a single high risk token. And always perform your own research. Do your own research. DYOR. They use a lot of acronyms and symbols in crypto. And that's one I'm actually going to put into the notes for this part of the segment. The bottom line is, again, if it sounds too good to be true, you don't know who the developers are. You can't, there's no lockup on liquidity. It smells like a scam. It looks like a scam. Dude, it is a scam. So therefore, be careful out there. And also take a look and put it on repeat as much as possible. Uh, if you like what you see as far as my YouTube video, just let me know and play it often. And thank you for listening.
Butterfly in the sky, I can go twice as high. So take a look, it's in a book, a reading rainbow. I can go anywhere. Where's to know and where's to grow a temporal rainbow. I can be anything. So take a look, it's in a book, a temporal rainbow. A temporal rainbow. A temporal rainbow.
I am finalizing my reading of probably one of the greatest biographies by Susanna Morris, The Life and Times of Octavia Butler, Positive Obsession. I'm coming up towards the end of that. I'm still working on my concept of parable of the trickster, or the trickster, a parable. I'm changing it around. I'm legitimately working out other characters, and dialing back the time period, because in order for us to be able to get to the stars, there has to be a redefinition, and it would be great to see the growth of the new Acorn community before they head off to the stars. Because being on the struggle bus 40 light years from Earth, It's not, nobody's going to be about that life. But the way positive obsession is broken down, it basically deals with Octavia Butler's early life when she was a student and her development as a new writer. And then towards the end, it doesn't sound like she hit her stride from an economic standpoint until within the last decade of her life, which was sad because a lot of it had to do with writer block. A lot of it had to do with life be lifing. She was a full-time writer, but she wasn't making Stephen King kind of money. You know what I mean? So she still had to be a productive citizen, pay bills when she made them, and eat food, and still have to research to create the type of art that she wanted to create. So in the last part of the book, it's getting to what she was doing towards the last decade of her life as far as an in-depth dive into the Parable series. She talked about the Xenogenesis series, the Patterning series, and she just wrote 2 of the 6 planned books for the Parable series, but she got writer's block. And hopefully I can add my stink and also hopefully answer some of the questions that were still hanging in Parable of the Talents. Even though I thought it was a great book, I would have wanted to know more about Marcus's backstory, as well as Larkin's backstory, I mean. So that's it for this part of the episode. Anybody that can write where we as African Americans or Black people are doing the damn thing is great. And that's what she basically was, Afrofuturistic writer. And she was even more than that. But even with us in leadership position and survival positions, there's still going to be a nut head like the Stephen R. Smiths that I'm getting ready to write, the lobotomized acting mugs that are going to basically be the countersuit to sanity. So I hope you guys will look forward to what my take is on that type of trickster, because I think they are needed, but we need them to keep us on our toes, but they need to stop doing so much we have to figure out ways to deal with them in order to have their chaos help us grow. But when it actually stalls our growth, that's when you got to tell them to go sit down somewhere. A messy bunch, the shady bunch. I hope for checks is worth being part of the shady bunch. My weekend, or at least my Sunday, has been spent because I watched halfway as I was falling asleep Huntsville and the Houston Hustle. I was pleasantly surprised that I had missed so much when I rewatched it this morning from my pool. But maybe because I was relaxed and I was receiving. What is the deal with the glow up of Lance and Destiny? Destiny is looking beautiful. Her friendship, now that has been confirmed with Lance, in spite of him acting like an idiot. And it is really wild that why did he have to have a bodyguard at his event? I don't understand. Because it wasn't like there was money involved. He has a designer space that he does in Huntsville, Alabama. And again, I want to know more about why does he have full custody of his child? What is going on there? Is the reason why he has to have a bodyguard and he has custody of his child, is that interconnected? I don't know. But I think Destiny is taking it well, or on camera they are. They were able to get to a space where it wasn't a lot of drama, even though they kept shading each other and they both think it's weird that now she is pushing up on the bodyguard, who is fine. He is like Megatron friend Will's fine. Tall, muscular, bodybuilder or trainer. Is that the MO? Or is that what is on the resume of these guys? If you're not a pro baller, you become a trainer and then you you do bodyguard or security. I need to get a fine. I'm going to call it Fine Black Man Security Chattanooga. How about that? Become a Bell's bomb and just to attract these brothers, because there's just too much fineness seem to be concentrated in one family. That's the other thing. And I also think that Miss Nell need to mind her damn business, because she kept saying it. Oh, they're grown folks. And then she basically kept trying to bring it back to her about why are you all in my friend group? Well, then don't be the godparent of fine brothers. Don't have fine children. You're not going to put somebody else on lock because you don't want them to be there. Girl, bye. Yes, Destiny seems like she's actually had a lot of troubles that we have not seen on screen, but she has alluded to her divorce, when her child was in the hospital, which I don't know the details of that. We don't know that. I'm hoping they're going to bring that up, or more details of that if she would allow it to be. And then the dude that actually married Moses, he actually married the former producer, Sonny. And then he ended up back in jail because I think he violated his probation or something. But other than that, I thought it was dope. And I like to see the real. It was just a really good start of the episode. The only thing I didn't really agree with was the whole interaction between Destiny and Miss Nell. And then the other thing that I really liked, it was more of the real about Ms. Nell interaction with he's her godson, who is Lance's god brother, is also interested in Destiny. And he was right. She's beautiful, but it seems like she does have a lot of baggage and she may need a lot of work. And I thought it was just real. And it looks like if they will show it on screen and it's just not for production, that would actually be neat. But how they basically came to some resolve. She made it clear and respectfully clear that you're not going to put me on lock. You know, I'm not going to, I'm in this friend group, because of my friendship or interaction with Martell. There's nothing going on there. But I'm grown, I'm single, and she's rebuilding her life back, which I also think is dope. She went from a storage unit to an actual real storefront, and she's looking gorgeous while... Wow, I don't know how much of that I got. I think I squeezed it too hard. But as I was saying about Heart and Hustle Houston, I don't think any of that recorded. Anyways, Heart and Hustle Houston, going back, the only person's name is Ro that I can remember. I want to know more of her backstory, her the interaction between her and that Shaniqua that was so thirsty and she bought the FedEx Kinko's copies. I thought that was so lame. But I think she's too thirsty and she is just willing to do and say whatever she wants to go viral and to be a part of the cast. And I think Ro clocked it, and she doesn't trust anybody. That's going to come in handy, I think, going on. And I basically made a comment to myself when I was watching it. The girl that Shaniqua wanted to make her remember her from a Facebook interaction from 10 years ago. She has a very impressive mid girth, and she either needs to make sure that that's not secondary to peritoneal fluid or such. And I would like her to make sure that all of them go to the doctor. Get your mammograms. They all are kind of young for colonoscopy, but I think they actually dropped the age down to 45. Look at Chadwick Boseman. And realistic interaction between the girl. She's ghetto, but she absolutely loves her son. Her then boyfriend was 26 years old. Her son is only 24, and she had to basically be told to refocus on him and apologize to him because has been tripping in the ensuing months after I think her husband of so many years had basically died. I don't know tragically, but suddenly. And then the boy became the man of the house, because she was more of a friend to this boy, and he was her protector for so long. Then he took over the role, and then she started tripping when she actually got this young man that was close to her son's age, and he replaced him. But that was his role, and that's how he admitted that he recovered from the loss of his I think it was his stepfather, because he was allowed to be in that role, and then he basically was being replaced by that other young guy, and without a thank you. And that's when his mom realized, and they had a real conversation over some wine and champagne, and then realized that how far away she had gotten from him. All I want to do is make sure that it just seems so real, that their interactions real. The other girl and her mama, their complicated relationship, I think she should aim higher than Beyonce. Maybe having one of her namesake products within the sacred line, having a bigger launch than Hailey Bieber's launch within Sephora, or that partnership, and being on CNBC, just being on your own channel and then going viral and having a million plus people buy your product. That's where you should go, not just being the makeup artist, because I've said this before and I'll say it again. Beyonce, her mama, and Blue are all makeup artists. She don't need any extras. But what you can go on and get your bag by expanding your reach more than just being her makeup artist. How about that? Also, this is what I don't understand too, is people not being and living in their truth. And we pick it up on the screen. I don't know if it picked up, but I'm not interested in any line between Martell Hope and Marcel Scott. It was some clown mess, and they were trying to one up each other. So I have no patience or time for that. So now on to the OC and Real Housewives of Miami. If you want a basic breakdown on Real Housewives of OC, you need to tune in to Reality with the King and his recaps with Alexis Bellino. She may be cuckoo clock. She was portrayed as cuckoo clock crazy on that show, OC. But her bringing the receipts about how big of a sham or scam that lie detector test was. And yes, two things can be true. Katie is the known liar, and Gretchen is a liar. They're trying to basically cover it up because Slade and his stupid name and his deadbeat self are trying to orchestrate his comeback on Real House of Wives of OC. The only thing I thought was hilarious because Andy Cohen was like, man, bitch, this ain't your show. You're not a housewife. Your story ended when you broke up with Joe. He needs to remember that, and he needs to get over himself. He's only leaning on, and she's allowing him to lean on. I don't know what, because maybe they got a kid and they're not married, but he can't go nowhere. He ain't got no job. And he's blaming Tamara for that. Maybe they wanted to generate this show, this lie, to not only get Tamara, possibly to get Tamara wound up, but they also wanted to get Katie kicked off because she is gorgeous, or does she remind him of Joe and he wants to get her kicked off the show? No, are they trying to get rid of the competition because he wants to be a eighth housewife? I just think it's dumb. They need to have some resolve. Yes, I think Katie is lying. Yes, I think that lie detector test was a setup and it was not accurate according to the receipts of Alexis. Alexis bought it. A real legit lie detector test is possibly in 3 parts and can take as long as 40 minutes. And it takes as long as 4 hours, not 30 minutes. And also having trying to do it in 7 housewives at 4 hours apiece. Nah, I believe it was 30 minutes. We knew something was up when Katie failed all the questions, and only sociopath can basically fool it. So, with that said, the accuracy and the legitimacy of that test is being called out. Not on screen yet, but I'm not going to be able to sit through another gang up and try to kick out the Asian girl. Yes, both things can be true. Yes, Katie has lied, and there may have been, I think Gretchen said both of those things, and they knew the level of lie, and y'all just bringing it up 15 years later. Remember Phaedra Parks. Remember what you are basically saying, because you're basically saying that you were roofied, which is illegal. Remember what you're saying, and remember that now you can't take it back. And what is Jen's MO? Could she basically just formally admit, yes, Gretchen may have basically said both of those things during that dinner, but did Katie put a certain spin on it? She may have. And is Slade and Ryan trying to protect Gretchen? I firmly do. I think she said it. Katie may have put her little spin on it, but why are they so gung-ho on protecting Gretchen? Are they trying at all costs? And are all of y'all going to go down trying to protect the white girl? Good luck with that. Good luck. But Katie, girl, you stupid as hell. You took the bait. And nobody would say something like that because the implications are crazy. So with those things said, y'all need to resolve it. But if you want to see a very interesting and funny take on it, listen to Friday's Reality with the King with Carlos King and Alexis Bellino break those things down to you. Also, I found it interesting, the take of why a take on why it took, why they are still talking about Kiki Monet, the former journalist and podcaster, why she being brought in as she's the only one that should be the 8th housewife, not Slade. You're not even married to this girl, and you are a deadbeat, thirsty mug. But Kiki Monet is not. And her setting the record straight and basically giving her involvement in it and how it got back to Tamara. And also admitting that Katie is still lying and continues to lie is fine. You said it. It doesn't appear that Kiki Monet was spreading this lie. And also, it was just weird that both Katie and it was how that came about. I don't think Katie wanted to film, or I don't know if the production asked her, but that interaction where Gina was there, I would have thought it would have been more useful to have both Gretchen and Katie talking to Kiki, because that makes sense. You have to admit that you told her that Kiki thought she was just having an off-record conversation with a journalist who basically spilled the beans to Tamara. And that's how it got out. But it was a horrible game of phone tag. And she prefaced this, said that she didn't run with the story because why would y'all wait 15 years later? She had to get her ducks in order. She ran it by a reputed journalist, and the journalist ran their mouth to Tamara. Then Tamara brought it back to the show, and now they're all reeling. I think Gretchen basically said both of those things. I don't understand why. I literally don't understand why. She won't cop to it. And basically said, I knowingly and I don't, maybe she's saving it up for the reunion. I knowingly lied about it because I know how it looked and I still wanted to be on this show. And I was probably listening to Slade because it seems to be too dumb for me to make up such a fantastical story and detailed story like that. I think she was supposed to take it back, and then it got blown out of proportion, or he literally told them to say it because she knew that Katie was going to take it back and put her own stank on it, and that was going to remove some more of Gretchen's competition. That's the only thing I can think of, because I don't think Gretchen is that smart to make up something so fantastical. And why didn't y'all bring this up 15 years ago? And again, don't care. If it's not true, then squash it. And both of y'all just admit y'all lies, and then y'all go move it on from there. But y'all need to address why you're trying so hard to get Katie off this show. Y'all trying too hard and you're doing too much. Miami, I don't know about Miami. I like the interaction with Kiki Barth and her father, but that's about it. I don't like Larsa Pippen. I don't like Alexia and that other lady. I think about a lot of the interactions are fake, and I don't trust that Stephanie girl. For some reason, she's getting under my skin because she keeps trying to flex all her wealth, but I think it's a house of cards. When it all blows up, because there's always these extremely rich people that are fronting this hard, there's always some fraud right around the corner. So I'm waiting for that. But I did really like the interaction between Kiki and her father. That was dope. The rest of it they could have kept. That was dope. The rest, again, could have kept it all. You can take the girl out of the hood, but you can't take hood music out the girl. But I'm going to end this with a word, just as I started this podcast. Do or do not do. There is no try. And that's a word from Yoda. I hope I have conveyed just how much fun I have had in creating this podcast. I've got my mojo back. Just set your intention or reset your intention. It could be daily if necessary. Mine is peace. No mental dumping over here. If I'm acting like I'm not listening, I'm probably not. I'm not your therapist. I'm not a therapist. Keep the crazy to yourself, child. You do you and leave me be. The sooner you figure that ish out, the happy you will be. So this is what I want to convey in this podcast. And that wraps another of F.A.A.F.O. has a fro. Join me next time as I throw shade and point out the shade and simply have fun. Y'all have a great new year. Ah, 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 What? What, y'all? What?